Fair Trade Commission, the Korean Fair Trade Commission, approved, of VLive and Weverse to merge back in May of 2021, but now it's like officially happening. And so basically they determined that it's not going to be there'll be still like fair competition, but it confuses me because like they were like, oh well, SM has LYSN, but LYSN doesn't have live streaming. They still use, all the SM artists still use VLive for official live streams. But I guess they're gonna basically combine VLive and Weverse. And recently, Blackpink just joined Weverse, which is pretty crazy.
I think it's cool. I do think it's cool. My only problem with it is I really, really would hate to see fans start, like, if they're not fans of group, because we've seen that before on Weverse, even with some of like the non-Korean artists, like non-fans of those artists will go on there and start bullying them. And I would just hate to see Weverse turn into Twitter with like fan wars. That would be the worst.
Are they bullying like, New Hope Club? Rip.
It was Gracie Adams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she was the first non-Korean to join. And I'm just like, please leave fan wars away from me. I hope you take them off Twitter too. I'm sick of this. But like away from Weverse. I think it would also really bother like the artists because they've said that like or BTS at least has said like that's their safe space to go and commune with their fans and like read their posts. So to have a bunch of antis on there would just be really annoying.
Do you pay for Weverse?
That doesn't happen. No, it's free.
Okay, because with LYSN, the chat with an SM artist, you have to pay for it. So there are people who pay for it to troll the artists. I am not kidding.
No,
and I think
Weverse
that is so
free.
insane.
It is. Weverse, you basically, you choose the artist who you want to like follow on there. And you can follow multiple, but you have to create an account with them, like with that page for the certain artist. And then once you're on there, it's like free reigns. Like you can, type and do whatever. But yeah, I just don't want it to become a place where people purposely go on there to try and start problems. That would be really annoying. I don't spend much time on Weverse other than just like looking at the posts that, the boys make or like videos and blah, blah, blah. But I just think it'd be really, really aggravating to go on there and see people like fighting. Skylar, I can see you.
I'll stop.
But as far as them merging, you said that they're taking old VLives off.
Yeah, so on August 4th, a screenshot of an information site that can be edited by users circulated on social media led to mass confusion. The post claimed that Hybe plans on closing VLive and disintegrating the platform to create Weverse plus BNX. As a result, the majority of artists, people thought the majority of artists and fans who are not affiliated with Hybe labels would simply be thrown in the air. So what we don't know if there's any kind of confirmation about that yet, but a lot of people are now concerned that there would be, basically anyone who is not into the Weverse like ecosystem of YG and Hybe both doing that, that they would essentially have nowhere to go, or they would have to be a part of Weverse, because there is another platform, like 2 other platforms, but I had never heard of them before. They were like, oh, but I seriously had never heard of these other ones. I've only the only other one I've heard of is LYSN, and there's no live streaming on that. I guess the only thing, I guess they would start just doing Instagram lives or live streaming to just like regular streaming platforms. But
yeah. So BTS, they do live streaming on VLive and YouTube, but mostly they keep to VLive. I'm assuming also of the videos, like they used to upload all their BTS run videos and everything was on VLive until they had that option and started transitioning those to Weverse. I'm sure if they're really trying to make this work with Naver, who owns VLive, they tried to make it. I mean, it's not a completely even divide because Hybe has 51 shares and Naver has 49, but that's pretty, that's pretty much equal. And so I'm pretty sure they're going to just try and like update Weverse and update. I don't know that they're like changing the app entirely, but I'm sure that content would stay. Like, I don't think that it's feasible that they delete it at all. Like, I just don't see them doing that because it would make a lot of people hate them, one. And two, like, they want to make the platform available to all artists and fans, so they have to be able to like cater to those people. Like, if they want them to join it and be like a part of this empire they're trying to build, they need to have a good relationship with both parties.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Can you guys just quickly break it down for me? Why would other people or other artists get kicked off VLive just because they
essentially the reason why people are afraid of this happening, right, is that if Hybe was to control like or limit whoever was on VLive to whoever has the deal to be on Weverse, it would just be Hybe and YG artists essentially who would be able to use it. And so people are worried that that we would lose all the SM and actually JYP I don't think uses VLive, but
literally
I can't see them doing
like,
that.
We'd lose everyone.
Yeah, and
but
so
I can't see them doing
that.
And well, it would be an incentive for the companies to all pay into Weverse instead of paying into their own chat platforms like LYSN or whatever the one JYP Entertainment uses. So essentially, it would just be like forcing people to join Weverse and having that platform, basically kind of bullying people into buying into Weverse.
There's just, I think people are assuming this because Hybe, as we talked about before, is making a lot of new moves, and they clearly want to be a very influential company worldwide. And it's like obvious, they're like being very dominant and aggressive. I mean, not in a bad way. They just are being aggressive. So I can see why people think that they would try to monopolize and bully. I don't know. We'll see. I can't see them doing that. But then again, I don't know, because they definitely have some additions to like leadership and some new tactics and strategies that, are very interesting. So who knows?
But yeah, and also people are interested to see where this goes because Lee Soo-man is selling his 18% of SM Entertainment. So Hybe, CJ, and Kakao Entertainment. Kakao is the like texting service that's really popular in Korea. Keiko. Thank you. I'm still not a total expert on everything. They're trying to buy those shares. So basically, essentially what Hybe was trying to do before that LSM stopped was that they were going to buy 50% of the company. And Lee Soo-man was like, I still want to have creative control over putting the bands together. And I feel like if they bought 50%, I would lose that. But if they only buy just his personal shares, 18%, he would still have a creative control capacity, I guess, is the what his like reasoning. So basically they are competing to all get those. Keiko is the most likely, it is the most likely to acquire the shares in the lead, but Hybe has offered more money than Keiko, which is interesting.
Wow, hi.
But what people are worried about also, particularly on the girl group side of Twitter, is that when they bought Playtest, GFriend pretty much was like dissolved right after that. And it's pretty.
GFriend is done?
I mean, GFriend is like
They're like kaput.
Yeah, they're kind of like over, right? Didn't they disband?
They're in the basement.
Are they in the basement? No, as of May 22nd, 2021, GFriend's contract came to an end and they did not renew. So, what's interesting and what SM kind of figured out too, business wise, that I was kind of texting them about. This is a theory. This is not, we don't know, is that profit wise, in terms of like album sales, merch sales, light sticks and stuff, boy group fandoms tend to be more loyal. But on terms of like streaming and charts and radio play and all of that, that's where it evens out. So I think that Hybe definitely has an incentive to at least prioritize boy groups over girl groups, as that has proven to be more successful overall.
They've never made a girl group. Like, they've never made their own. And so I'm like, I don't know that they necessarily know how to even make a successful girl group, which if they acquire girl groups, they're going to have to learn. Like,
totally.
That's what's worrying to me. I'd also be interested, though, to see what would happen if Keiko owned those SM shares, simply because they own a lot of smaller corporations that have K-pop groups, which includes Cracker, which the boys are under. So, like, that would be interesting. I'm curious how it'll all play out.
Yeah, me as well. Especially because I feel like SM hasn't necessarily done the most for the girl groups that they have, so it'll be interesting to see how maybe a new corporation deals with them or new people. But at the same time, I do feel like Hybe prioritizes boy groups, especially because I think they're going for a world audience with the success of BTS, especially like their new groups they've had. They're really going for an international as well as domestic crowd. And I think K-pop groups in Korea, the girls usually do really well domestically, but they haven't really hit that international audience. The only one is
Blackpink, yeah.
The only one is Blackpink, and no one's been able to replicate that yet. So maybe they're just hesitant in doing what they know works for them, because I think they want to be like this like world leader. That's what Hybe is to me. Like that's what they're going for.
Yeah, it seems like a really big power shift in what has been the big three for so long. It's like, you know, when after the 90s, when like Sega stopped being like a major power in video games. It's just like a massive power shift. It's very interesting to see where it'll go and what will happen and what will change.
Comes to Hybe, though, I think they're gonna have to learn a lot. They were very lucky with BTS. Like, they were very lucky that they garnered such a broad and like diverse range of fans. But I also think because of that, the artists themselves had to learn a lot. And seeing how, you know, this past and hyphen thing has been going on, like how they've treated that and like what's been said on Weverse and the drama surrounding that, which we haven't really talked about, they're not continuing that. like they're not showing the same dedication to their international fans. And like, I think if they want to maintain the kind of attention that BTS gets, they're going to have to foster that same kind of energy of mutual respect of a lot of different diverse people.
Yep, and I mean, we see it with the groups that are big with the international crowd, save for one that I won't mention, who continually messes up for no reason. But even with ATs, you know, I love ATs, but I have to say, I think some incentive with their company letting them come out and say certain things or learn certain things is because they do have a bigger international fan base. So there's an incentive there for them to, like, you know, learn and be more respectful to a diverse crowd of people. And I think Hybe should do the same thing with their other groups. They do with BTS. Like,
well, I think
like
that's BTS's personal choice, though. The thing is I don't know how much corporate and any of these companies really cares. And
you know what? That probably is BTS, because I think once they started traveling, they said they learned so much. Maybe it was a personal growth type of thing.
Yeah. And then it became kind of their brand, and that endeared them to more people. That makes sense.
And same with ATs. I think it's a personal thing for them too. A little bit, yeah.
But if it is personal, people should know how successful it makes you to be more open and like knowledgeable about, if you want to be global, if you want to be big, if you want to make it outside of just Korea and make it internationally with a diverse group of people, you're going to have to be knowledgeable and like have these discussions about race and about
or at least give them the PR training to deal with when someone asks them.
Yeah, or like just difference, just acknowledging difference, acknowledging like diversity, and learning how to be respectful to that. Yeah. Because even a lot of Muslim fans of BTS, they've delayed their concert beginnings because they're like, oh, it's their time that they usually pray, so we're going to start later so that they have time to do those rituals and enjoy that religious experience and also enjoy the show. So like,
I can see
just small things like that really endear fans to them. And I think that the more K-pop like groups start to realize that if they want to be big globally and if they want to have that fan base, they're going to have to be educated on the issues, even if they're difficult, even if they seem different or a little tedious. That's what it takes.
Yeah, I just think a lot of the companies, because they have this picture perfect image of idols, they almost don't want to acknowledge that the mistake even happened. Yeah. And so
I agree.
And then they don't train. They don't have the idols. They have so much PR training to deal with pretty much everything, and except for that. So we've seen multiple times where someone, you know, gives them a question about, you know, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And they are like frozen. And I just don't think, you know, these are kids, you know, at the end of the day, and in a really homogenous country being marketed towards the earth. I think it's the company's responsibility to teach them at least how to handle a question in a polite and professional way that doesn't make people angrier at them. I just think it's not fair to them.
Well, also acknowledging it at all.
Yeah,
but
you can't just ignore things like that, which I think they've really taken to doing. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you guys know our culture is so different, and we have to acknowledge that as well. You know, obviously in America, we're super open, you know, very open. And I feel like no one in America or the Western world, we don't usually gravitate to groups or acts that seem closed off or picture perfect or like we don't know them. There has to be some sort of connection there. Even like the most, honestly, it kind of sucks to say it, but even like the most volatile or like problematic or people or acts or artists that are like that, they still have like a extreme fan base because they seem open. It's like genuine, like this is who they really are. So I just think there's a difference in culture. You know, Westerners like to believe there's not a ton of boundaries with artists, and they want, you know, that kind of like gritty side of the artist to show. It's gonna be hard, I think, for in the K-pop world for them to get used to that,
or at least to balance that, because the Asian market is still super loyal, and it's not just Korea, it's Japan, it's the Philippines, it's Thailand, and they have to balance all of that. So I think
that's a big thing.
That's why I think that, I don't know, they need to maybe get an American PR person who has, you know, done this before with other artists, having to.
But that's if they want that. If they want to be in a Western, like some groups, I'm sure don't.
Well, I think they obviously they want to be in the West, but I think the best way for them to deal with it is that, like, they obviously have so many, like, they have to take, you know, grammar class. Like I was telling Skylar, even at SM, I don't know about the rest of them, they have to take etiquette classes, and they have to take manners classes, and they have to learn how to stand up straight and all of this stuff. So I feel like if you're going to train them on how to be interviewed, how to act at the fan sign, etc., 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 at least how to not piss people off over like issues like that seems just like a base level thing that could easily be incorporated into training. I don't think they need to necessarily be the most aware of everything, and I don't expect them to be, because, you know, I honestly think that in America we put a little too much stock into what celebrities have to say about important issues that they like. That's not their thing, and that's not their expertise. So I don't care necessarily if they're always outspoken about it, but I think in terms of like how to respond, what to say, what not to say, you know, what is culturally offensive to certain groups of people, what, you know what I mean? Like, just like a baseline kind of training on how to be a global star, which they kind of already have, but they just need to adapt it to the paradigm of the West a little bit. And they just need to, you know, learn some lessons. You know, I think BTS is a great example of, like, you know, how to turn it around
and make something of it, and like really want to show growth.
Now they go above and beyond.
Areas.
They go above and beyond.
They go really far. They go farther than some Western artists.
That's true, and I don't think they necessarily everyone's got to go above and beyond. But it would be really nice if we could at least get, you know, a statement, an apology, or you know, if someone brings it up at a fan sign, which seems to be what happens every time, or on LYSN or something, that there is. That they are trained to respond, because otherwise you've just got a 20-something who may not even really know the gravity of the situation, just being like,
or what they've said that has like harmed people.
So
it's just,
and it's not malicious. Like, I feel like a lot of people think, like, when people call artists out, or like, oh, this was offensive to me, I think people think that they think it's like, or some people interpret it as being malicious, like wanting to tear that person down instead of just wanting to be respected in their own right. Like, it's a very different thing. Like, telling someone, hey, I didn't like that you did this. It made me uncomfortable because of these reasons. And like, it's historical, it's cultural, it's societal, whatever, is very different from being like, you're a terrible person, and like, you know, attacking them. Sometimes people go about it the wrong way. And if it's continuous, then I tend to be one of those people who's like, okay, clearly you just don't care.
Yeah, but you can tell some of them
some of them obviously I think get annoyed or feel frustrated because they fully don't understand what they did wrong. And so they are just like, well, they're just never gonna like me. That's not the case. Like, you just have to learn from your mistakes. When you do something wrong, just
yeah,
we all know who that's about.
Yeah, but you know, So if they're a member of a boy group, there's always going to be a certain amount of people who who forgive it. No matter what.
And we talked about that before.
And if they're a certain member of a girl group, they might start, wish death on them about 3 years later on TikTok constantly still.
But
it's definitely a difference.
Calling out things that people have done wrong is not necessarily an attack. And I know fans are always going to see it that way. And sometimes fans use, Black fans use anti-Blackness by other groups against other people. That's weird. Why are you as a Black person throwing other groups' anti-Blackness at their fans? That's weird.
Or it's like a group. It's always a fan of a group that's had the controversy where they're like, but your group did that too. Or your group
stop.
I hate when it's a fan war thing. Because people do use it as a fan war thing. And it's not.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be reduced to that. That's diminishing the whole issue here. But anyways, Hybe, you're moving kind of crazy. I will say that. I think some platforms just need to be platforms, for everyone.
Yeah.
So I will say, Weverse is fun. Weverse is cool. I love getting the notification that J-Hope personally left me a message. They'd be like, J-Hope left you a message, Sydney. And I'd be like, oh my God, thank you, J-Hope, for this message that you left me personally, me. But, or when he responds to little fans' messages, do you know how thrilled I would be if one day I just logged on to see Suga commented on your post? I would die. I would literally just be like, I am the chosen one. God has chosen me for this purpose, and I have fulfilled my purpose. And now my whole life just needs to be about basking in this moment and giving back. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, I have had some moments where I've been seriously tempted to start paying for Bubble, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hold myself to that one. That one, I think, is I feel like paying for even more parasocial interaction is a little scary. Weverse is free, so it doesn't feel that weird. And VLive was free for Blackpink. They used to do all the texting and stuff on VLive, but I don't know, something about paying for it. I don't know.
Yeah. Astro's always like, Astro entered the chat. And then 10 minutes later, they'll start their VLive after they've already been talking with fans. But first of all, yes, I think those apps should be free because they should just be allowed to have social media, in my opinion. But obviously, I know why. That's a PR thing.
Well,
sometimes.
Yeah. Red Velvet does have, all of them have Instagram. At SM, it's after a certain amount of years you can have Instagram. But JYP is strict as hell about what they can do on social media. It depends on the company.
I think Weverse arose because BTS specifically is a very they're so together, they're so insular, the 7 of them together, that they don't have any social media separate from each other. And so I think Weverse is where they do that. And it's they can post their own posts, they can interact with fans separately, by themselves. And I think that really became their platform. And it's also, it's both good and bad because one, they're trying to make it more international to get in contact with fans and make it specifically so that you're seeing the artist you like's content and their interactions and not all the other things that you see on social media. So I think it's both good, but also if you just had a larger social media platform by itself, obviously you'd reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But I think, Twitter users will be so happy if, people move over to a specific K-pop site. I know a lot of people would be.
Yeah. I mean, but it's still different though, because like I mean, I don't know how Weverse works, but Bubble is literally just like texting the group, essentially.
No, Weverse, you can interact with like other fans.
Oh, see,
Like,
the Bubble's
you
not
make-
really like that.
Yeah, you make posts on Weverse. Usually people only make posts to the artist, but you can make posts like to other fans and they can like cheer your post or comment on your post and stuff like that. And no one really does that though. It's not like Twitter where you like interact with people, but now it's starting to be like, now you can follow people and see their posts and stuff like that. But that's like a new enhancement. I'm not really like on Weverse like that. I don't really use it. I literally go on every time I see it. RM left you a moment, or like this artist posted, and I go on. But
yeah, I would be interested in SM doing something a little bit more like that, and just in terms of like, I don't know, it being like an all-around platform for the group to interact with you more than just like messaging and like pictures. But I don't know necessarily if I'd want to be on a social network just for K-pop. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really, I like Twitter as a platform just in general, like in terms of its design.
Yeah, I like being able to talk about different things I like, and I just don't think that would be as welcome on a K-pop site.
Yeah. True.
But I will say this conversation reminded me that there's a video that Jimin posted that I did not see on Weverse, so I have to go watch that later.